Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth. The federal government's 2024-2026 borrowing plan, right or wrong? Okay, truth be told, excessive levels of foreign debt, or if you like, borrowings, can hamper a country's ability to invest in her economic future, whether it be via infrastructure, education, or healthcare, as their limited revenue goes to servicing them. This hampers long-term economic growth. The federal government of Nigeria is planning a 2-year borrowing plan involving a whopping 26 trillion naira with a 29 trillion naira debt servicing framework. How this picture is healthy begins to boggle the mind as I speak. On Crosstalk today, combatants go head-to-head on the propriety or otherwise of borrowing from creditors even as foreign debt mount. Let's meet the combatants right away. Cyril Abaku, to my right, is a broadcaster and communications expert. Cyril, I greet you. Thanks for coming.
My pleasure.
And Evans Ufeli is an attorney at law and a political commentator. Yeah, Ufeli, welcome. Yeah, so the 2024-2026 borrowing plan, right or wrong? Who takes the lead off?
Well, I think I might as well begin by opening with my thoughts. I want to quote Mr. President Bola Tinubu when he famously said, and I quote, "Can we continue to service external debts with 90% of our revenue? It is a path to destruction. It is not sustainable. We must make the very difficult changes necessary for our country to wake up from slumber and be respected among the world's great nations." Continuing, he said, quote, "To build a great nation, we must make bold decisions, even though it may be painful. It is not about you and me. It is about generations yet unborn." End quote. The president, if even for the purposes of what he himself espoused to do, appears to be going against what he said, what he promised. Clearly, a country that wants to be servicing its debt with 90% of what it is earning is a far cry from home. And it shows that not much thought is being given to generating money locally. That is what we call IGR, stimulating the local economy, manufacturing, and making the local indices to blossom. So if we're not willing to do the hard work as he has asked, then inevitably we'll borrow. But if he has a clear plan what he wants to do with the economy, then the borrowing cannot continue.
Yeah. Evans, it's on record that countries, including even the mighty United States of America, borrow to run their economies. So it's not a wrong thing to borrow. But being frugal and being responsible with the borrowed money.
Yes, as long as a country is not earning as much as it spends, or is not earning as much as its budget is able to accommodate, that country must borrow. Now, borrowing, economics have told us that it is not a bad thing to borrow. What it therefore means is that it is a sovereign decision to borrow. If a country takes that part, it takes that part on behalf of the citizens who voted into power. Those who lead them.
Yeah,
so it's a sovereign decision. Now, if you look at this debt plan, borrowing plan of the federal government, the outgoing representative of the IMF, our representative of the IMF, Asin Aaron, have said that the federal government can cope with that plan. as long as the federal government is able to increase oil revenue or oil production and widen the tax thereof, the federal government can stabilize the economy with that. Because the truth is that if you are talking about reviving critical infrastructure, where would you get the money to invest in those critical infrastructure in order to revive it? The country has to borrow.
So borrowing is a way.
Yes, it's a way, but it has to be with discipline, and it has to be done responsibly. And the indices, from the IMF that I just stated now, has shown that we shouldn't just borrow and go to bed. That there are major things we must do. One is to increase oil production, and then the tax net, we have to take it serious. And if we can hold those two parallel, we can,
we are good to go.
Yes, we can stabilize the economy and rebase.
Let me quickly come in here. When we talk about the IMF will never tell you not to borrow from them. It's for good reason. The IMF has a very, very detailed history with the third world, with the developing world. I cannot point to one single developing economy that has done business with the World Bank or the IMF and has become a world beater or has moved from third world to first by working with the IMF. Look at Argentina, for example. Argentina is doomed. The Argentine economy is gone. But the conditionalities that the outgoing IMF official was even given, those two, Nigeria has failed on them. The one being that when we produce oil in Nigeria, 98% of what's produced from what they said is stolen. People come into this country, bring vessels as big as villages and come and berth and siphon this oil. Nobody knows where it is going. If you even ask today, how much is Nigeria producing per day in the concrete and genuine, nobody really has that figure. So clearly, with corruption in that sector, you can't be hinging borrowing on that. Actually, I agree with Barrister Feli that borrowing can either be responsible or irresponsible. But when I look at the facts, you can see whether we are borrowing responsibly or irresponsibly. The second fact that he spoke to was about widening the tax base. As I speak to you today, in a country in which subsidy has been taken away and government has not said that they decided to pay subsidy, companies are packing up, biscuit factories are packing up, drug makers are packing up. If you check the headlines today, all the national dailies, including Daily Trust, was saying that drugs, people are not even able to afford daily food anymore. People are dying from starvation. So with such economic constraints, how are you now telling us that when you borrow, that we should trust you to be able to use that money to develop their money? Yeah. For example.
Cyril, listen, Nigeria's finance and budget ministers have defended the president's borrowing plan. Let me quote the finance minister, Wale Edu. He says, quote, "It's a good thing to borrow efficiently, sensibly, and sustainably. What we need to do or to look at is that borrowing is down and that the deficit is also down."
So the question is, are we borrowing responsibly, sensibly, and wisely? Only some weeks ago, we were borrowing money to buy your presidential yacht. Who does that and where and why?
But the yacht, you have been told, is not for the president's use.
No, but no. That's revisionism. We need to be clear on what they're borrowing the money to do. Look at now, so and then the budget of
But the president had said the borrowings will go into critical infrastructure, healthcare, and education,
such as purchasing vehicles for the office of the first.
No. Don't be cheeky. Listen, the federal government has talked about fixing important roads across the country. So
that's what they've talked about, but that's not what we can guarantee. We can vouchsafe that they're going to do. In the past, we borrowed. Where did the borrowings go? What I thought the president should have done was to come down and look at all the things that what monies borrowed in the past have been used to do, assess it, and then use that as a basis. But what we are doing is that we've just borrowed and want to just continue and keep borrowing like that. I don't think it is the best thing to do. How a yacht, which is not a vessel for warfare, got into the what's it called, into the budget document, today still a mystery. The government got to the House of Reps. The House of Reps now said that no, that they provide the money to education. Meanwhile, we were told that the youth had already been bought. This sort of government, lack of government transparency and accountability, how should we now trust them that they're going to borrow more money in the interest of Nigeria? The president just said he was not going to borrow. See what they should have been doing. Cut down on the cost of governance. The president eats food that is provided for him by taxpayers' money. Why can't you borrow the American model and say, Mr. President, your salary is already, good enough. Pay for the food you eat, all including cutting his hair, the clothes he wears, the newspaper that he reads. Why can't we cut down on the cost of governance up to like 70%? So that with lean government, we can know and tell that indeed we are ready somewhere. Even the number of people that the president has appointed as aides alone is shooting over the roof, and from borrowed money, we're going to be paying them. So clearly, we are not disciplined. We are not showing maturity. We're not showing responsibility. That for me is the problem.
Evans, you don't think Cyril is being unnecessarily high-strung? He has valid arguments.
Well, he's entitled to his opinion. But what I see in all this is that whether he condemns the borrowing plan or not, the federal government will take on borrowing. The reason is clear. It is clear to the extent that what we have as a budgetary allocation for the year, we do not have the earning capacity. So if we are in deficit on that, we don't have the earning capacity, we need to borrow to our bridge. Okay? So now, when we borrow to our bridge, the next point of call is how can we manage this money we have borrowed to our bridge in a way that we help to revive critical infrastructure. That is a different thing entirely. And then the minister in charge of the economy have said that there's a way in which this borrowing plan can be sustainable if government do the following. Okay, but of course, as a minister, there's a limit to which, because he's one minister, there are other ministers in other ministries who will receive allocations. If they are not on the same page, that is where the problem kicks in. But you see, I understand why Siri is talking this way, because there's a sense in which we have repeatedly failed to keep to terms of what they call manifesto.
Cyril is quarreling with a lack of accountability.
Accountability, yes, that is what is quarreling with. But I'm saying, despite the lack of accountability, we cannot say because over the years people have not been transparent, therefore we shouldn't take the necessary step we ought to take by economic means to revive our economy. Our economy is still critical to us, and then we need to do what is required.
Cyril, the minister says further, let me quote, the budget deficit is being brought down to about 6.1% to the GDP to 3.88% of GDP from 6.1 to 3.88, which I think is a good projection. That's a huge change in direction from unlimited borrowing to focusing on revenue and expenditure management. There will be value for money on expenditure and increased revenue.
Well, let's also bring this to the table, that a budget proposal is only what it is, a proposal. A spending plan is what it is, it's a spending plan. Yes. Of course, it's going to go on to become law. That is talking about the budget. Yes, because it goes from appropriation bill and then it becomes appropriation act. Okay, and when it's passed, it's law. But again, there is a fundamental departure from because all of these are what he envisages. But you see, already as I speak with you, the budget has passed. I think has either reached or passed second reading on the floor of the Senate as at yesterday. And somebody came to say that what was submitted to them was a bulk of empty
box.
Was all empty sheets of paper.
But it couldn't have been.
Then later.
They couldn't have been, maybe not detailed.
Later, another senator said, no, it was empty and detailed. Then another person said that the president submitted a flash drive, a universal serial bus of the details of the budget. And I don't know if the viewer is as worried as I am, but such a staccato, the president has not denied or confirmed what exactly is submitted to the members of the National Assembly in the name of an appropriation bill, whether it was a stack of empty sheets of paper or the president indeed gave them a flash drive which of course is an innovation in government, that he gave them a flash drive containing the budget details. I've not had it before. But if all of that is true, then I'm just wondering, the standard template of what we know is that this work has the budget is big business. Before this time, the president had already transmitted a submitted budget of 2.1 trillion naira, money that they were going to spend between November and December and I'm sure that they finished spending that money. Okay, now you brought a new budget in December, and I think at the end of November again, and I'm wondering, so who did the checks? There's Ministry of Finance, Ministry of Budget, Ministry of the Budget Management, the Debt Management Office and Budget Office in the Presidency. Then all the ministers made their own input into MDs. Everybody brought their own budget, everything into the. And what we are winding up with, it looks to me that somebody is just hastily trying to fulfill that righteousness by insisting that we must do the budget from January to December. But the thorough work of sitting down to pour over the details, as they say, and to look at what we need and put a detailed document on the table, perhaps didn't just go into this matter. We can't have three senators saying three different things about one document. Clearly something was wrong with the budget in the first place. How then should I bank on such a document being used as a template to borrow more money and that it will be spent properly? I have my
reservation.
Justifiably so.
Yeah. Evans, we said at the beginning, my country, your country, had been dealing with a deficit budgeting system, and we are not about to end that. The relevant ministers, in this case of finance and budget, have said borrowing this time will come with a lot of common sense, so to speak. So Syria is not just being unjustifiably, what's the word now, critical, but he is sounding a note of caution.
Yes, that note of caution is important. As much as that is, we should also look at the other side of the issue under reference. Before this government got into office, you notice that during the campaigns, in the president manifesto, he promised 10% performance, budget performance. He promised 10% in his manifesto. But in the budget, when he got into office, he saw the reality. And now it's 3%. So because even the 3% that we have currently in the budget, the likelihood that will see the light of the day is a far cry, given the way we have managed resources in this country. Not like we don't have enough resources that can be managed with the size of our economy.
Put simply, we have no reason being at this beggarly.
So we have no reason being at this thing, because if you look at our GDP, okay, even though the earnings, national income is not able to, take care of our budget wholesomely.
No thanks to what he pointed out.
Yes, in a scale because of profligacy and indiscipline, insecurity, name it, a lot of malfeasance, okay? But I'm saying that even in the mix of that, even in the mix of all this crisis, this government can take a decision to say, henceforth, this is the roadmap. We have this borrowing plan. Of course, we don't have any other option, because we needed to revive those critical infrastructure that will give us the turnover.
Give me a break, just a minute. Cyril, so if we must not indulge in excessive borrowing, what should we do?
So we can look inwards. For example, why are local industries packing up? Why is government still borrowing to be the biggest spender in the economy? Why are they going to
Power. You don't have power.
So what can we do? We can.
The government have to borrow to improve infrastructure.
Probably not.
You will end up in this trail you are going. You will end up on my side.
Probably not.
Because
no.
you get to your root end where you just discover that you need a loan.
So the companies that have packed up in
what should we do in the interim?
Number one, for example, you can give tax holidays to Nigerian businessmen doing business in this country.
Without electricity?
No, I'm coming. They can. So the money they should have been using to pay tax, they can now use to power their business. Meanwhile, you have the Federal Ministry of Power. The reason why we would have electricity is not because we can't generate it. It's corruption.
But if you give tax holidays,
it's corruption.
If you give tax holidays,
yes,
government earnings will drop.
It doesn't matter. The wealth of the nation, yes.
When it drops,
yes.
It needs more loan.
No. It won't need more loan. The wealth of the nation is not the wealth of the government. It is the wealth of the people. That's why in America they have billionaires. In Nigeria, believe me, in Nigeria becoming billionaires really become an issue in the under democracy, because under military rule you'll be told that that's the danger to national security. One person not having all such money. Good. So we give them this holiday. Let them be able to apply their money back into their businesses, and then give them some time, say 2-3 years, and you see what happens. It will lead to employment. It will lead to stability. But what we have today, you've put tax on all kinds of, as I think to you today, nobody can even tell how many things are being taxed.
But Nigerians hardly pay tax.
No.
No, we pay tax.
We pay. You see, the problem is even
Nigerians evade tax.
No. The mere fact.
The earnings on tax, let me tell you, the earnings on tax, as we speak, on VAT only, we have different kind of tax.
Exactly.
VAT, you cannot evade VAT because it's direct tax.
Yes.
Okay. The indirect tax, those are the ones you can evade. Personal income tax and maybe company income tax. And what is the FIRS enforce it in a way that will surprise you. I am a tax consultant, so I understand that we have all we need to do is to maybe widen the scale, the net, to take care of those areas like personal income tax where it is difficult for you to pinpoint people involved. But I mean, all companies are registered with the CAC. CAC roll out the list of companies to FIRS go round.
Yes.
You understand? If you don't have the following regulations, the corporate governance issues, companies battle with it.
There are many companies in this country that deduct taxes of their workers and they don't remit it.
They don't remit.
Oh yes.
So it's a crime, and this runs into billions per afternoon. So why can't they? See, you cannot put the integrity aside. So
does that not underscore what I said earlier, that we hardly pay tax?
No, the money. So
not all type of tax. There are tax that we evade. There are some kind of tax that you can.
So if
you cannot.
Yeah. So if we, and the president is an accountant for goodness. I mean, he himself has a tax consulting. So if we can put our feet on the ground and put our eyes where it ought to be, the money to revamp this economy is in the economy itself.
Okay.
We can so we can look at those critical areas. Why will the FIRS go after this and say, okay, how much can we project to get back in 3 to 6 months? And then look at how we can plug that back in. Then plug the whole of oil thieves and raise up what we are able to produce per day. Then look for development partners. You see, this idea of what we need is money is even old school. What did they do with Abuja? They called, Julius Berger with this company, said there's oil, lift it, sell by yourself, and build the city. So call them and say, okay, this is what we need. Take the oil and give us what we need. The federal government does not seem to be interested. Did you hear when the Minister of Work said the other day that all the roads that have been built in the past 4 to 8 years, none of them is going to last beyond 3 to 4 years. One contractor alone had 27 roads for him to build, and nobody has said arrest him.
Because our procurement, because we are violating our procurement laws.
So these are the leakages that government was fixed.
All right. Let me remind the viewer that this is a crosstalk, and today we're looking at the federal government's 2024-2026 borrowing plan. And we raise the question, is it right or wrong? My two combatants, Cyril Abaku, and of course, Barrister Evans Ofeli. Let's go on a break. We should be back shortly. All right, folks, let's begin to take our debate home. The federal government's 2024-2026 borrowing plan, right or wrong? Yeah, we're taking the thing home now. Cyril, is it, you insist it is possible to run the country without borrowing any money?
It is very possible.
Evans, you are saying we need to borrow.
We need to borrow when necessary. And the experts have told us that we must borrow. But what I think we must do and mix this borrowing is just like the solution given by the experts, that we need to increase oil production and then also the tax net and all that. What I think the federal government will also do while taking up this loan is to discipline its appetite for profligacy and come down on generating funds internally. By the bonds, I mean, there was a time in this country where federal government raised huge money from bonds and what do you call the other one? There's another one where federal government, sell this to
treasury bills and all that.
Treasury bills, bonds, and all that. They can, generate enough money from that. Then give targets to NPA, just like Buhari did them. He issued a warning to them. NPA, the major companies that generate funds for the federal government, LNG,
the customs,
all that, excluding the police, please, excluding the police. So all those ones that generate funds, they must have a target and a projection and remittance.
See,
when we plug all that, we'll be able to service this loan effectively.
And that we must learn
regularize.
To punish wrongdoing.
Very well. We must do that because today we have people who are talking about plea bargain when they have stolen this amount, they are bringing just a fraction of it and all that. So if we look inward, I believe we'll be able to sustain this economy.
See, not too late to start, is it?
It's not too late to start. You must have the will, determination, and a clear plan of where you're going. The end goal should be, if you ask me, autarky. It is a possibility.
Yes.
You can become self-sufficient in everything, in whatever it is you want to do, because God bless every country equally. You can go for autarky and achieve autarky, and that's what we should be looking for.
What's autarky now?
An economy that is entirely self-sufficient all by itself,
without external internal borrowing.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's possible here.
It's a great possibility. It's with us already. What we're living is corrupted autarky, so we can take corruption out and live in autarky.
So, but it's this crazy choice where we seem to be enjoying.
No, it's a choice that we concocted by virtue of our lifestyle. Sometimes, if you look at governors, for example, if they are going out here, the whole street and the roads are shut down. They are burning taxpayers' money to fuel their car, to get all that. If a president is going out, the same thing. The other time, the president took the Air Force jet, parked it at the Heathrow Airport for 90 days. What that cost Nigeria, I mean, with the medical bills and all that, these are the kind of things we do that put us in deficit. We should not be at that threshold with the level of wealth we have. We are the 6th highest oil producing country in the world, for Christ's sake. And we don't live even among
Evans,
the 10th and 11th. We don't live like that.
Even though it sounds to be so on paper.
No, that is what it is by virtue of what is deposits, what we have in terms of deposit. Even our OPEC quota, we are not able to meet up with it because we don't have most of the oil companies are leaving. Because the environment is not okay for investment.
See, is it possible, therefore, in this regard, to deal with oil thieves, crude oil thieves?
To deal with those thieves, what they call them, I don't call them thieves anyway.
What do you call them?
Government.
Do I understand you?
Government within the government itself, whatever. You cannot be stealing 90% of what you're producing and say, I should go and look for the thieves. You are the thief yourself. So, what must happen? Government must purge itself of its own indiscretion. You cannot see an oil vessel on water and blow it up and say you are fighting oil thieves. You are not fighting oil thieves. You are bearing evidence. So, deal with the matter squarely. we must deal with oil, what I call oil diversion. Okay, deal with it, take it out of the system, and then make sure that whatever we produce is accounted for. See, when all of things are on the table, they're going to take care of itself. It will take care of itself. If you're serious about it, look at, so you have Govt'S cement and Bua cement. Call them together. You guys bid. I'll give you tax. It's called tax credit, right?
Tax relief.
Tar all the roads leading in and out of Benue State, for example.
Okay.
You can still go to Benue State today and buy a bucket of orange for less than 100 naira.
Oh yeah.
It's wasting away. Oga, tar all the roads in and out of Benue so that the food can move
freely.
I'm telling you this. Somebody went to London and
conserve value.
Somebody went to London and ate mango juice from Benue State that was almost a year old and it tasted very fresh. But you and I who are in Lagos, I cannot get that same thing at the same price. They are selling one ball of watermelon in Katina, in Kebbi for less than nothing. And yet in the same country in Lagos, if you for 15 naira, and then in Lagos they come and tell 3,000 naira. When if the road, and then please, there should be no police checkpoints on the road. We've passed those armed robbers who standing, sometimes they don't know whether they're armed robbers or they're police.
They keep disrupting the economy.
Somebody went to buy yams in Benue and came to Plateau State.
He stopped at the middle of the express.
If they have paid 5,000 naira to 2,000 naira just to move yam from Benue to Plateau,
And it's time wasted.
how much would they not sell the yam for? So on this side, the issue, we are the ones cleaning ourselves. I'm telling you, if we press reset in this country, even America will not. I'm telling you,
yes,
if we press reset in this country, even the greatest economists will look at us and say, "Who are these guys?
Where are they coming from?"
They will. They will. You see, the thing is this: we have the history that in time past, in empires like Benin Empire, down on to Benin, Calabar, and all these places, they were having street lights with palm oil that was not in China.
With palm oil,
yes. So we have this civilization. I'm telling you, if we get back on track, that same spirit of the land
with cocoa, with melon,
the cosmic,
the cosmic administration of the universe. Works.
All right, let's draw this debate to a halt, but not before thanking Barrister Evans Ofeli for his time.
You're welcome.
And Cyril Abaku for his time too.
It's a pleasure.
Okay, Crosstalk will say, has arrived at safe anchors. So until the next time, we say thank you and keep watching. Bye-bye now. Enterprise TV, your one-stop shop for news, programs, human angle stories, the economy, sports, and much more. We go the extra mile to bring incredible details to you. So hop on the train now. Enterprise TV, a tradition of truth.